Today we're going to be doing a Superflex rookie mock with landing spots, I might add. We found a 3-round mock on PFF.com, so we decided to apply landing spots to this. We are going to do a 2-round rookie mock. Let's just not waste any time and let's just get right into it. So, Cody, why don't you just kick it off? You were lucky enough, it's a
Ooh,
rebuilding year. You've been holding on to this, and you have the 101. What are you doing with it?
I am taking Anthony Richardson at the 101, who goes at 104 to the Colts in this mock. I love this landing spot for Anthony Richardson. Bijan Robinson could be fantastic. He could average 20 points per game. And that's what we look for as a floor for our quarterback. So they're the cheat code in Superflex if you can have two of them. So I'm taking Anthony Richardson.
Now, with the 102, I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. Now, I will be first and foremost, to be honest with you, and say that his landing spot that they have for this is the Dallas Cowboys, and I absolutely do not love it.
Yeah.
Mainly because I guess for year one, I think he would be limited some. Like, he's not going to come in and just be the lead back there. Maybe he takes the Zeke role and something like that in that situation because Tony Pollard is still there. We throw this word around a lot, but he is a generational talent. We talk. It feels like every year now we have somebody at a running back position that we're talking about like that. But he truly is he's up there with the Saquon Barkleys of the world coming out of this class. So Bijan Robinson locked in at the 102. I don't need to go on further than that.
The 103, I will be taking C.J. Stroud, who went first overall in this mock to the Panthers, of course, after making that huge trade. I like that landing spot with that coaching staff that they have put together that looks fantastic on paper. Obviously, would like to get them more weapons in that passing game for them, but I do have Stroud over Bryce Young in my pre-NFL draft ranking. So just makes sense to take him here at the 3.
All right, so I am up here at the 104. I'm not going to lie. I'm not in love with Bryce Young, the prospect, or Will Levis for that matter. I think they both have their own red flags, but I also think they both also have a path to being relevant. Bryce Young scares me, especially because he gets a lot of comparison to Kyler Murray, but he's not Kyler Murray at all. He doesn't have the athleticism that Kyler Murray does. He's not somebody that's going to be rushing for 600-700 rushing yards. It's not going to happen. The most he ever rushed for in a season, I think, was 100 yards. At 5'10", there's certainly some concerns here with his size. I don't think he's above 200 pounds. I think he put on a little bit of water weight before the combine. There's just not a huge list of quarterbacks you can go off of that are that size. And so, there is definitely some concern here, but he is going to be drafted in the top 3 picks of the NFL draft. And so, draft capital matters a ton. He's going to enter a spot with the Texans. That's where he was drafted on with this mock, that he is going to absolutely, get all the opportunity in the world to start. They've added a lot of weapons there. I wouldn't say they're premium weapons or quality weapons at this point. I thought about going with Will Levis because Will Levis is probably in a better situation, but Will Levis probably doesn't start until next year if he's drafted by the Raiders. With him taking Jimmy Garoppolo, I think this would be kind of a learning year for him. Otherwise, if Will Levis was the starter out of the gate, I probably would prefer him just because he's in a better landing spot. Still having Devontae Adams there as a weapon. They added Jacoby Myers, so the weapons are definitely a lot better there for the Raiders than they are the Texans, but I don't think he plays till next year. So I think from a long-term perspective, Levis might be a little bit more attractive, but at least for the short term, I think Bryce Young is definitely going to be starting right out the gate.
Yeah, man, you kind of laid out my next pick for me as well, so appreciate that. And my next pick would be Will Levis, goes at 107 here to the Raiders. And I think it's a better thing for him that he doesn't have to start out of the gate with Jimmy Garoppolo there, right? Gives Levis a year to really get his feet underneath him and kind of figure out the question marks that he has in terms of, I've seen some people talking about his mechanics and whatnot. And
all right, so let's keep it moving here. Let's go over to the 106. And I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston. He was mocked to the Vikings. Adam Thielen is now gone from that offense. So now, yes, they still have TJ Hawkinson, but that offense is good enough, I think, to support obviously multiple pass catchers here in this offense. I know some other people probably say, well, why aren't you going JSN? Well, in this mock draft, they do have the Seahawks taking him, and I would just not be a big fan of that landing spot. We know that's a team that wants to run the football. They're not looking to pass the ball all that much. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett are both still there. He would kind of be the third wide receiver there. I don't think there's enough volume to go around for that to work. And as you all know, I love Quentin Johnston. He's actually my wide receiver 1. But for me, I think he has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver in this class.
At this pick of the 107, I am going to take JSN, who you were just talking about, not necessarily loving the spot. I don't love it either, but he is the best wide receiver to me in this class. I know it was like the cool thing to hate on him for a while because of maybe his lack of athleticism. He's only a slot guy, yada yada. It doesn't matter. What he does well, he showed at the combine with his elite agility drills when he just absolutely crushed them. Tyler Lockett is getting up there in age, and these situations change so quick. Like, this is something that I've learned from playing Dynasty for the past 5, 6 years or so. Is like when Juju was drafted to the Steelers. Now, obviously, it looks a little bit different now. But when he was drafted to the Steelers, I was like, oh man, I'm out on him. Martavis Bryant is there. AB is there. Well, guess what? That didn't last too long. Juju crushed, his first 2 years. He was the dynasty wide receiver one for a little bit of time. So all this just to say that like these situations change quick. They change whenever you least expect them as well. So I'm going to go JSN here at the 107.
I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs here. I was really thinking about going with a wide receiver because there's a wide receiver that I like where he landed, but I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs here to the Cardinals. Again, like I said, I think he can immediately step in, be the pass catching running back here in this offense. And as we know, James Conner is not a model of consistency when it comes to injuries either. And so if something were to happen to him, he would immediately step in and be that, that RB1 of that offense. So he's super dynamic.
At the 109, I'm going to take the first tight end off the board, and I'm taking Darnell Washington, who's drafted by the Bengals at the 1.28 here in this PFF 3-round NFL mock draft. We knew that he was a good blocker, right? And then he comes out and just crushes the combine, along with basically all of these tight ends. But going here to the Bengals is just such a sexy spot. There's another tight end who I really like here as well, but clearer path here for Darnell Washington in the first year.
I'm going to go with Josh Downs here, and that might be a little bit high for some people to be taking him at this point, mainly because I think landing spot would be fantastic. He would be going to the Panthers at 208, very early draft capital here, pairing him with CJ Stroud. They shipped out DJ Moore. There's not a whole lot of weapons there. So I think Josh Downs, who I think really profiles a slot wide receiver at the next level. I think he can step right into that role. And I think that he would be somebody that would command like quite a bit of targets very early on. Maybe I'm taking him a little bit earlier where people would feel comfortable with. But I feel like if he lands here, taking him at the 110, I think is fine.
I'm going to turn around here at the 111. I'm going to take the other tight end that I was talking about. Thank you for not taking him, Kev. That is Dalton Kincaid going at the end of the first to the Chiefs. You can't ask for anything better. Obviously, Travis Kelce isn't going to be able to keep going at this rate for 10 more years. That end is eventually going to come. And I think Dalton Kincaid is someone who could step into that role seamlessly, be able to learn from Travis Kelce. I think, with the way that this Chiefs offense is looking as it stands right now, they could definitely run some two tight end sets with Kincaid and Kelce as well, and have a little bit of opportunity in his rookie year. And if not, we shouldn't be counting on these tight ends to just break out their first year anyway. So taking somebody like this at the end of the first and being able to kind of like sit on him, give me Dalton Kincaid to the Chiefs.
Next up here, I'm going to go with Jordan Addison. He was taken 211 to the Browns. And I know there's some projecting here because overall, Deshaun Watson looked god-awful last year, right? About as bad as you possibly could. Though I will say towards the end of the season, he started to look a little bit better, kind of started to knock some of that rust off. You have to remember, he was out of the league for almost 2 years. I think it was a little reckless of people to think that he was just going to come right in and he was just going to start balling.
I will be taking Zay Flowers at the 201. One of the smaller receivers who actually showed up pretty well at the combine. We did get Paris Campbell landing with the Giants. We also have Wan'Dale Robinson. So like it definitely seems like they have a type here, right? Like these smaller, shiftier guys. Who knows how this would end up, actually happening? But I still think Zay Flowers come in there and make some noise. We still don't know what Wan'Dale Robinson is. Paris Campbell finally stayed healthy. He had his quote unquote breakout year that was 600 yards receiving. So I still like Zay Flowers as a prospect, so I'm going to take him here at the top of the second.
Keep moving here at the 202, and it's going to be pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet. He goes off the board here in 301 to the Chicago Bears. Now, makes me sad a little bit because my guy Khalil Herbert is still there. They also added Deonta Foreman on a 1-year, like $1.2 million deal or something like that, which doesn't really concern me all that much. If they go with Zach Charbonnet in the early third round, I've talked about it a ton. Love Zach Charbonnet, but he is my number 2 running back in this class. I think he is a better David Montgomery. Let me put it that way. He is a more athletic David Montgomery. I think a lot of stuff that he does, if you watch his tape and you put it on, he provides everything: contact balance. He has great burst. His vision is unmatched in this class. I think he has the best vision of anybody in this class. And they are trying to improve this offensive line. They add a couple offensive linemen already through free agency. I do think that with them, with the 109 pick, I think you could definitely see them add their offensive tackle. So, getting Zach Charbonnet in an improved offensive line, a better offense here. Justin Fields, also that running dynamic is going to open up rushing lanes for somebody like Zach Charbonnet.
Up here at the 203, I'm going to take Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, who goes at 2.22 to the Los Angeles Chargers. It's Justin Herbert. Like, do I need to say much more? It's obviously an offense that needs the speedster. They've kind of been looking for with, some of these guys like Jalen Guyton that just haven't worked out. Keenan Allen getting up there in age. Mike Williams can't seem to stay healthy outside of the 1 year where he, tricked the Chargers into giving him that extension. So I think Hyatt is someone who can come in and be a big time weapon for the Chargers as well. Probably doesn't have the safest floor, but at the beginning of the second round here in your rookie drafts, I'm not necessarily looking for floor anyway, so I'm just going to take the ceiling and give me Jalen Hyatt.
We are at the 204, and I'm going to go with Michael Mayer. He lands at 202 to the Texans. He's probably going to step right in and be the starting tight end, probably right out the gate here for the Texans. Give Bryce Young another weapon to throw to. 6'4", 265 pounds. I think he does a lot of things really, really well. It makes a lot of sense here to go with Michael Mayer here in the second round.
Going to keep the tight end run going. I'm going to take Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State, who goes in the beginning of the second here to the Raiders. Obviously, with moving Darren Waller in that trade to the Giants, they definitely have a need because that tight end depth chart is ugly. Luke Musgrave, definitely more of that move tight end than he is an inline guy, which is what we want for fantasy anyway. It's completely fine with me. So I'm going to take Luke Musgrave. And no matter who's at quarterback, I think he could be a good fit for that offense.
Next up at 206. Now, there's been a lot of rumblings going on right now that the Broncos could be looking to trade one of their wide receivers, which seems kind of crazy to me considering everything they're doing. All this other, they're spending this ridiculous amount of money right now. They spent another, I think, $200 million so far this offseason. They did the same thing last year. They spend draft capital to get Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Like, why would you want to get rid of your weapons? I do not know, but whatever. Overall, I think this would be a good landing spot for Cedric Tillman, assuming that maybe possibly that they would be looking to move on from one of these wide receivers, which is going to open up opportunities. So Cedric Tillman here going 305 here, early enough draft capital that, I think he could have a significant role moving forward in this offense. And he's kind of the overlooked guy here from the Tennessee wide receivers. Hyatt kind of really stole the show this year, kind of went off. Cedric Tillman dealt with some injuries and stuff like that, but years prior, he was kind of the man. So I do like Cedric Tillman here, taking a little bit of a shot here on him at 206.
Yeah, as much as I don't like a lot of these landing spots, like that was one that I saw that I was like, ooh, okay. Like that would have 100% been my next pick here. So I'm going to go and take a running back here who got less draft capital than some of the other running backs on this list, but I prefer the landing spot, and that is Chase Brown going to the Bills at 3.28 in this mock. I'm not necessarily in love with him as a player, but he tested really well. If someone there were able to kind of like take the lead role there, even if that's just like a 60-40 type of split, that's definitely something I'm interested in. So I will take him here to the Bills.
And I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears here. The man who kind of made a name for himself at the Senior Bowl. He is going off the board at 310 to the Texans. Apparently, I'm just all in on the Texans. I have Bryce Young. I have Tyjae Spears. I also have Michael Mayer here. I just went all in on the Texans, offense here. But I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears. He gets better draft capital. As much as I love Dameon Pierce, I think Dameon Pierce can be that guy. But if they draft a running back in the third round, I think that is going to hurt Dameon Pierce moving forward. Could be more of a committee work a little bit here between these two running backs. But still, I think Tyjae Spears with the higher draft capital could pay off. So I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears.
Getting close to the end of the second round here, I'm going to take another tight end. Apparently, I am all in on this tight end class. I'm going to go Sam Laporta out of Iowa, who went to the Packers in the third round. They obviously have a need here with Robert Tonyan moving on. The questions at the wide receiver position as well. Obviously, we're expecting big things from Watson. We saw Romeo Dobbs pop off a little bit as well, but they could definitely use as many weapons as possible for Jordan Love there, and his first real year as the starter. So Laporta tested out really well at the combine. I think it's just a fit there for Green Bay in the third.
Yeah, next up for me at 210, I'm going to take a little bit of a swing here with this being super flex. I'm going to go with Hendon Hooker. That's who they have
Yeah.
here. They have Hendon Hooker going in the second round to the Lions. Hendon Hooker was fantastic at Tennessee this past year before he ended the season with an injury. With this pick, he steps into a great situation. We've talked about this Lions offense being a ready built, just super car for a quarterback to step into. I don't think they're tied to Jared Goff long term. I think taking a shot on a quarterback here in the second round. Again, they've done a very good job, with what they did with Jameson Williams last year, with really babying him along. I don't think you would even see Hendon Hooker at all this year, but I think it gives us time. He can learn the offense and then maybe compete for the starting job moving forward. And then, it's decent enough draft capital in the second round where maybe they would look to do something with him. But overall, I don't mind taking a shot here in a super flex league, especially late second. On a quarterback that have some upside in a great offense and a great situation. So I'm going to go with Hendon Hooker here.
I'm going to go ahead and finish out my last one here at the 211. Can't go without mentioning some Penn State love. So I'm going to take Parker Washington, who went to Philly in the third. Parker Washington only came in at 5'10 at the combine, but he did come in at 207 pounds. So he's not a frail little slot wide receiver, really good hands. And I think he would fit pretty well in that offense. So that'll be my last pick at the 211.
For me, here's my last pick at 212. I think trying to literally look to see who's on the board here. Some of the other guys that were drafted. Tyler Scott went to the Dolphins in the third round. Rashee Rice went to the Commanders at 334. Michael Wilson went to the Titans. Like, there's not a lot of wide receivers here that stick out to me, right? And we only got the top 3 rounds, so it's not like I could go with some other options here. The only other running back we did draft was Devin Achane. Doesn't really excite me again going to the Bucks. So I'm gonna go with the last tight end that's on the board here. That's Tucker Kraft. I actually like Tucker Kraft quite a bit. He comes off the board here at 325. Yes, the Jaguars, franchise tagged Evan Ingram, but this is not a long-term deal. I mean, Evan Ingram could be gone after this year. So Tucker Kraft here, I think, makes some sense. He's a super athletic guy, 6'5", 255 pounds. He was actually 5th in yards per route run. He was 5th in yards after the catch per reception and 19th in missed tackles forced as well among all tight ends last year. He has excellent size. They lined him up everywhere. Flashes excellent ball skills and body control. So somebody that I really, really like here. Tight ends, obviously are hard to come by. So taking some shots here, especially at 212 on a tight end that has a lot of upside, a lot of growth here, especially in a ascending offense like the Jaguars are. Evan Ingram can very well be gone after this year. And, this is a great offense. Trevor Lawrence really kind of came into his own last year. So I would take a shot here on Tucker Kraft to wrap up the 212. This kind of wraps up our mock. We're definitely going to be doing some more of these. Be sure to keep it locked in here. We will catch you on the next one.